Hey guys, welcome back to Sports with Mono and Mono. And I'm Jim. I'm here with my partner Steve. We're the Monos. It's January 9th, 2021. Steve?
Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to the show. Hope everybody is doing well. We have a lot to talk about today.
Yeah, it's been crazy time. So, our first segment is sponsored, but of course, by Coriano Trucking. Relocated up to New York State, but good luck to them. And listen, you got to get something from point A to point B. Call them.
That's the guy to call.
And send us an email at sportswithmonoandmono@gmail.com if those needs are, and we'll make it happen for you.
And there you have it.
So, Steve, this is our second show of 2021. Right, we mentioned last time we're all psyched that 2020 is behind us, but you got the monologue this week.
Yeah, well, I'd like to open up with baseball, and specifically the New York Mets. And I've made the statement since Steve Cohen bought the New York Mets.
Yep.
Watch out. And, this was the first week that a blockbuster deal has been made in a while, especially from the New York Mets perspective, but it's just a different feeling that I feel about how this team is going to be run and the people that he put back in place, like Sandy Alderson and guys like that.
Yep.
But they made a very good deal. They made a deal for Francisco Lindor, who is probably one of the top 7 best baseball players in the game if you look at his numbers.
And I'm trying not to intercede on the monologue, but I have some thoughts on this as well. So keep going.
Okay. So not only do they get this Francisco Lindor, they didn't give up really anything to get him. All right. Now Ahmed Rosario was their one of their top infielder prospects who's had 2 to 3 years now to prove himself.
You brought him up on the show. You liked him.
I do. Yeah. Listen, you want Rosario? He's yours. And they only gave up 2 minor league prospects, but nobody of absolute significance.
Yep.
And they get Carlos Carrasco in the deal back, who is a more than serviceable pitcher, who's also at a reasonable salary. So when news broke of this, now this has been rumored for weeks at least, but the fact that they pulled it off, I think it's just the beginning of good things to come for the Mets. And yesterday, there's talk that they're sniffing Chris Bryant from the Chicago Cubs. Now that may take a little bit more to get. However, I think the fact that they're having these discussions to get top-tier talent, and let's not forget they can sign George Springer as a free agent, which most likely is going to happen in a matter of days, most likely. So the reason I brought up in the monologue is the New York Mets. It's validating my initial thought that they're a different team and they're going to be a force to be reckoned with, and I think they're going to win. I'm going to say two world championships within the next 6 to 7 years.
Nice. Well, that's a good monologue, and I got a lot of thoughts on this as well. And you're right. You did mention that, once Steve Cohen bought this team, things were going to start happening, start cleaning the house, get rid of the whole, Wilpon era and so forth, and it's happening. And you're right. But they're going to have to pay this guy. So now, is this the next $40 million a year guy? Is he going to get a Mike Trout contract? Because that you're right. They didn't give up much. Traded Rosario, but they got Carrasco, but they're going to have to pay this guy. He's a free agent after the year.
But that's the point about Steve Cohen.
Yeah.
Money's not an object.
Apparently it's not.
But he's not going to get a Mike Trout deal. I mean,
well, you just said
he's making $19 million as it is right now. They're going to have to extend him.
But look at what the top, you said he's a top 7 player in this game.
You'll see a contract for
top 7 guy in this game.
Yeah, if you look at his numbers, he is. And if they extend him, let's say it's 5 years, I can see he's making $30 million a year. I can see a contract.
Well, no, that's the minimum. He's getting $30 million. I mean,
Well, he's making 19 now.
okay.
He potentially can get 30 million a year.
I'm with
I would
you.
say a 5-year deal, 180, done. Cohen next.
But to the point with the Mets, you're
Money's
right.
not an object. Is my point. With
It's
the
not
Mets.
an object, and they are going to be formidable going, in the next couple of seasons and so forth. And they got the best pitcher in baseball in Jacob deGrom already. So
They do.
they laid the groundwork. And you're right, Steve Cohen, money is no object. And somebody made a comment to me when I brought that up. They said, "Well, that's what the Yankees been doing, for years and years and years." I said, "Okay, well, but now you got the other side of the river, and Mets are doing the same thing."
Right.
That was a big deal, but it had to be predicated on the fact that they were going to sign him to a long-term deal.
Yeah.
Right.
And then, we might as well just stay on baseball. The San Diego Padres are the same type of thing going on. You can see that San Diego is now different. They had new ownership the last couple of years.
Yeah.
So they make a trade for Blake Snell. They signed Hugh Darvish.
And they got two of the best, prospects,
Tatis,
Machado and Tatis.
Tatis Jr. They got another guy. They got this Korean or Japan, or he's an Asian kid who 27, but he was a stud in the Asian leagues.
Well, that's who the Mets are trying to combat, because they know they're going to have to face him in the National League Championship
So my
Series.
point is, San Diego on the West Coast, Mets on the East Coast.
Yep.
Two franchises that have been down, and with new ownership, new life.
know.
Watch out! San Diego is going to give the Dodgers a run for it.
I know, they're
over the
loaded.
next couple of years.
They're loaded, no question about it.
Right. So they're in win now mode, if you will.
Yep.
And the Yankees, I'm perplexed.
I was going to ask you for a DJ LeMahieu
There is
update.
none. As far as I know, there is none.
And who's
the
in
longer
play
they
now?
wait now, I hear the Dodgers and
The Dodgers
sniffing
are in
them.
play now.
And listen,
Yep.
if they let him go out the door, I got a big problem, as everybody knows.
Yep.
I don't understand what the problem is here. Just sign the guy. It's a no-brainer. It really. He's not a problem child. He's everything you want.
It's
in
a money
baseball.
issue, Steve.
Of course, it's a money issue.
And the
But it
Dodgers
shouldn't-
have just as much money as
But
the
it
Yankees.
shouldn't be a money issue. We just talked about Francisco Lindor. Okay?
But what we talked about with DJ LeMahieu is if he wants to wear pinstripes, he'll take less money than the Dodgers are going to offer him. But
Well, I don't.
we're going to see. It's got to happen soon,
I
because
think-
spring training's right around the corner. So
No, but this is the Dodgers. There's going to be a difference in salary here. It's going to be a blow you out of the water that he can't refuse it.
exactly.
But it should never have come to this.
I got you.
So that's it on baseball for now. I think.
That's enough on baseball. Let's move on to the NFL, because that's happening.
It
right?
is happening very soon. As
It's
a matter of fact.
what do they call it? Super Wild Card Saturday.
Well, I tell you what, we got 3 games today and 3 tomorrow. Nothing wrong with that.
And let's talk about those games, right? The
Well,
first
the
game of the day is the Bills and the Chargers, right?
Bills and the Colts.
I'm sorry, the Colts, right? But guess what? Who are you going to pick?
I'm all in on Buffalo.
Me too.
I mean, it's a no-brainer for me.
They're playing great football. Josh Allen is a stud. Which, by the way, give me a little kudos here. I told you when all my Buffalo Bill fans were saying, no, this wasn't the guy they needed. Yeah, he's the guy. And I like this kid Singletary as a running back.
Sure.
And you and I talked about Jerry Hughes on defense and so forth.
Listen, Buffalo is I'm predicting Buffalo gets to Kansas City, and they'll go down to the Chiefs. I'm still all in on Kansas City. But back to today's game, I read an article a couple days ago on Josh Allen, and the writer, to his credit, was a skeptic, kind of like. When I say, was I a skeptic? I just never saw enough of Josh Allen in college to give you an opinion one way or the other. And how many 6'5", 240 prototypes
With a cannon arm,
have we seen that just fail?
Exactly.
But I tell you what, Jordan Palmer is Carson Palmer's younger brother, and he's turned himself into like the go-to quarterback guru coach.
Yep.
He's got a nice thriving business, does it? But I tell you what, he's worked with Josh Allen, and he made the point on Josh Allen. It's not his arm. It's not his throwing motion. Troy Aikman even made the comment when he was coming out that he couldn't hit the side of a barn because in like the workouts, Allen was very inaccurate. But he worked on his footwork, and you just see the fact that his completion percentage is off the charts. His touchdowns are off the charts. The point is he's had the highest increase of completion percentage from one year to the next.
He had a Jared Goff turnaround.
He's doing outstanding.
Exactly.
But I see Allen
and you and I talked about
maintaining this and getting slightly better. He's that good.
But you and I talked about Sean McDermott. We love what he's done. You know, he's a vibrant young coach and so forth. And I'm psyched about it. And listen, they're playing the Colts today. And you know I don't bet on Phillip Rivers. I bet against Phillip Rivers.
Right.
And so they move on.
Yeah.
Right.
But the Colts, to their credit, 11-5.
Yeah, they had a good season. I'm not denying that.
I have full confidence Rivers shows up today and throws 2-3 picks. The Bills' defense will be in his face.
That's exactly what's going to happen.
It's at Buffalo. Today. And could this be Phillips' last game? It could be. Maybe not.
No, but after the year he's had, he's
I
put
like
up,
Buffalo today.
And again, he's going to the Hall of Fame.
He's
got numbers that are just indisputable and so forth, but in a big game, and I think the Bills move on.
Yeah.
And you know what? The second game, Seattle and Los Angeles. Let's talk about that.
Seattle, Russell Wilson.
I know. At home so forth.
Listen, Jalen Ramsey.
Goff may not play.
Who cares?
All of a sudden, everybody's a big fan of John Wolford, right?
No, let's be ridiculous.
He played a good game, his opening game, but his first throw in the NFL, pick 6.
Hey,
who else made it? Who else's first pick was... first pass was a pick 6.
Might have been Troy Aikman.
Brett Favre. Right. Who's now in the Hall of Fame.
Okay.
So.
But, no, I'm all in on Seattle.
I think that's an easy game.
Jalen Ramsey on the Rams will cover DK Metcalf. So Russell Wilson will use his legs. He'll spread the ball around. They'll rush.
But the good thing about watching
Seattle,
the Los Angeles Rams, I love watching Aaron Donald.
Yeah.
This guy is a beast.
First team All-Pro again.
Beast and a half.
All-Pro team came out. First team All-Pro.
And he's a good kid. He doesn't talk to the press. He just plays football. He's awesome. But you're right. I think Seattle moves on. Third game of today, super wild card Saturday.
Mr. Brady goes to Washington.
Let me give you my thoughts on this one.
Go ahead.
Because you and I talked about the Washington football team, right?
The Washington Redskins. That's correct.
Okay. So we'll go on. But the year Chase Young has had,
yeah.
And they got a solid defense. And we've liked Ryan Kerrigan for years, right? Finally getting some recognition that he's wreaking havoc. But, you know, the pink elephant in the room is, can Alex Smith play today, right?
Well,
and with him, the feel-good story we've been talking about for months, and I love this guy, but if he can't go or he can only play, they don't have a chance. If I thought he was playing the whole game and he was healthy, I would say that would be my playoff upset of the week. And everybody says, well, but wait a minute, Tom Brady's, it's a playoff thing. I get it. But we watched the Tampa Bay Bucks a couple of times this year, and they're not as great as Gronkowski and Brady go, right? They got vulnerabilities. But because of Smith not being able to play the entire game, which we don't know, but I think that's what's happening, that would have been my upset pick. I thought, that Washington had a chance because this Chase Young, he's the next Aaron Donald if he keeps it up.
No, I think he's going to be. I think he's a special player.
He's awesome.
And again, to remind the audience, not that you need reminding, but I held out judgment. I didn't know if he was going to translate.
I did too,
and I said it.
I did
but
too.
I'm sold 1,000 times on this guy.
He's a stud.
Now, I think we broadcast after the Redskins released Dwayne Haskins. Did we cover that last week?
We touched on it.
We touched on it. So it's been a good week from Ron Rivera. Obviously the Eagles laid down the Doug Peterson thing, the Sudfeld thing. et cetera, et cetera.
I know. I don't even want to waste time.
I'm just
on
saying,
that.
Washington deserves to be in the playoffs, even at 7-9.
The number's embarrassing.
It
but
is
they're better.
because,
They're a
because
better
they get a
team
home
than that.
game against Tampa.
Right.
Tampa's got a better record. But to the game tonight, Washington's defensive line is outstanding. Outstanding. The
No question
Alabama
about
guys.
it. We talked about it.
I know. So I'm saying Chase Young is probably going to be in Tommy's face tonight.
Well, he's made some comments that he can't wait to play here.
But the other thing
But it is Tom Brady in the playoffs, and his record is impeccable.
But the other thing is
indisputable.
Mike Evans hurt his knee, I think, a couple weeks ago. So I don't know if he's at full strength. He is a big weapon, so you're going to rely on Antonio Brown. I don't know. And like you said, Gronk hasn't been Gronk. The spread is 9 points. I'm taking Washington. I'll take the 9 points all day long. I think it'll be a close game.
I know,
but I wouldn't be surprised if Washington upsets Tampa Bay today.
Well,
tonight.
I was thinking that, and regardless of what the National FanDuel League, the NFL, was predicting, if I thought Alex Smith was 100% healthy, I would have taken that as my upset special. But I'm going to say Brady ekes it out and moves on. Somehow
We shall
he
see.
figures it out.
Tampa's defense is still pretty good.
All right, and let's go to tomorrow's games. There's 3 games tomorrow. Who do you like? Baltimore, Tennessee.
Baltimore's on a 5-game win streak. Derrick Henry has rushed for 2,000 yards for Tennessee.
He's had a great year.
Tennessee's defense has not been. It's probably been their problem all year.
But here you have
I got to go with Baltimore. I'm going to go with Lamar Jackson tomorrow.
I'm actually going to, even though his record in the playoffs hasn't been exactly stellar, over kind of thing.
Yeah.
But Ryan Tannehill, I love his progress. I love that he's prospered since he got traded from the Dolphins. But I'm just not sure Derrick Henry is enough. And Baltimore got embarrassed last year, so I think they got a motivation to win this game. And that's they're playing in Tennessee, so that's the wild card for me. But
I'm gonna go with Baltimore.
I'm gonna go with Baltimore too. I think the easiest game to pick is the Bears versus New Orleans.
Yeah, I guess. I'm still kind of in shock that the Bears made the playoffs. To be honest.
That's exactly right. And, I like Trubisky. I think he got a raw deal, and they shit on him. Oh, excuse me, pardon my French.
No, they shit on him.
But he's played well, and he looks like our nephew, Brendan.
Yeah,
with a football helmet.
He does.
Dead ringer.
Yeah, a little bit.
State championship winning quarterback at Wayne Hills High School in football.
Little bit.
So I think that one's...
You got to think New Orleans is going to...
Especially at home with no fans, but it doesn't matter.
I mean, I have to go with New Orleans there.
So I think we're on the same page. And Pittsburgh, what do you think? You can't figure this team out week to week.
I think Cleveland, the fact that Kevin Stefanski has COVID, the head coach, and things like that, I haven't really been able to practice, that type of thing. I'm just saying Pittsburgh at home.
And it wasn't...
If they don't win, that's a problem. I think Pittsburgh.
And I think they win.
I think this is an easy pick.
But I think it's the only game they win in the playoffs.
Oh, yeah.
They can't beat either Buffalo or...
I'm saying Buffalo's going to Kansas City.
Right. Everybody's got to go through Kansas City.
You better believe it.
Right? And we know that, and that's awesome.
Yeah.
So enjoy the games. Enjoy the weekend, because it's the playoffs. Right?
But there will be an upset. Which one is it going to be?
I'm going to say Baltimore. That's my only upset.
I wouldn't be surprised if Tennessee wins. Don't get me wrong on that. But if I got to pick, I'll take Lamar Jackson.
Okay. And before we move off of the National FanDuel League, Dallas Cowboys fired their defensive coordinator this week. What do you think of that?
Well, we feel that...
Mike Nolan isn't a good fit for our team going forward.
Not only did they fire Mike Nolan.
That's our Jerry Jones impressions.
Not only did they fire Mike Nolan, they fired Jim Tom Sula, former San Francisco head coach.
Yep.
It had to be done. It had to be done immediately. the most points in history in the Cowboys franchise. And again, but all teams were affected. They never worked with him. It was a whole different scheme.
Yep.
But Nolan, you got to go. It's as simple as that.
So, again, before we move off the NFL, there was a lot of coaching vacancies that are open, right? And
the New York Jets being one of them.
They interviewed Marvin Lewis.
Yes.
Who do you think? This is who I'm going to say. There's a lot of guys out there. Jason Garrett's interviewing with teams and so forth, but they're interviewing. Eric Bieniemy's got to be probably the hottest prospect as an NFL head coach.
But if you're Eric Bieniemy, are you going to go take the New York Jets on the East Coast with Sam Darnold, or are you going to go to a brand new stadium and live in L.A. and have Justin Herbert as your quarterback of the
San
future?
Diego, yeah.
In L.A.
And he played for them, so I think that's the logical
So
place.
you can, I logically, I got to think Bieniemy will not take the Jets job. So now it's the Jets. So now the candidate pool gets less and less, right? Matt Eberfloss or something.
Okay, but these guys, the defensive coordinators all across the league, and
right? So there's Matt Eberfloss. Does that not sound like the next New York Jets head coach, Eberfloss? Right? And can you envision 3-13 and
I don't know.
But my point is, they can't hit a home run. You know why they can't this year? Because there's nobody to really hit a home run with.
And I got to tell
outside of Eric Bieniemy.
And I saw some interviews with
who deserves
with the general manager Joe Douglas, and it just didn't seem like he had that grasp about what they wanted to do.
Are you going to stick with Sam Darnold? Well, that's an organizational decision that we're going to have to talk about.
This is exactly what we talked about, like with the Mets before Steve Cohen bought the team, right? You still had the Johnsons in charge, and right. Logic says the Jets are going to flub this pick and get somebody that. But Marvin Lewis, we talked about Marvin Lewis forever. Good coach, but head coach, come on.
Well, Marvin Lewis is a very good head coach. I wouldn't listen. I would rather go with Marvin Lewis than a young hotshot defensive coordinator.
Well, we tried that with Adam Gase kind of thing. He was an offensive guy, but
Marvin Lewis is a damn good football coach. Marvin Lewis is a Super Bowl winning coach, meaning he was
not as a head coach.
I didn't say that.
Okay.
I said you didn't let me finish. He was a defensive coordinator, or the defensive guy for the Ravens.
Yep.
That type of thing.
But like I said, I wanted to bring that up because there's a lot of vacancies, and I was a little surprised at Anthony Lynn. He had over a 500 record. He had Zach Taylor as like a horrible record.
I'm not surprised,
but
I don't think Anthony.
I liked him.
I think Anthony Lynn deserved not to be fired, but I'm not surprised that he got fired, if that makes sense.
But I agree with you that
he'll land somewhere else. But he won't. I don't think he's getting a head coaching gig.
No.
Quickly again, but he will be hired very, very quickly if he hasn't already.
Yeah, but I think the hottest prospect is Bieniemy, and it makes sense he's going to San Diego.
But also, Houston Texans hired Nick Caserio from the Patriots, who's been player development guy forever.
Yeah.
I think it's a good hire, but there's rumblings that Deshaun Watson is not happy down there. And I wouldn't be surprised, I'm throwing it out there, that the Jets start sniffing Deshaun Watson.
Right. We know Sam Darnold's on the bubble, right? You've been a supporter of his. I said
I just don't see the Jets taking a quarterback at 2.
Yeah.
And then the other news was yesterday, Mr. Urban Meyer, he doesn't get on an airplane and go to Jacksonville. This will be his first NFL interview. I think that's a viable chance that he's doing it. He's moving back to Florida, and he's going to have complete, absolute control.
And I've thought of that.
And he's going Trevor Lawrence over Justin Fields.
But does he want to go into the NFL?
Yes, he does.
So all that, leaving Ohio State because of medical reasons was baloney.
So what? He's been sitting around for 2.5 years now.
See, he's healthy.
He's going back to Florida.
I got it.
And he's in complete control.
Hey, listen, I wouldn't be surprised. Listen, I'm an Urban Meyer fan. His record is impeccable.
I love Urban Meyer.
Exactly. But he's got some dirty laundry in college, but that doesn't
Who
translate to
doesn't?
the NFL.
Who doesn't?
Exactly.
Unless you have wash and fold as your service.
Yeah. So a lot of coaching openings, and we'll talk about them because they're going to start filling them soon. But you're right. It's unbelievable. Every Doug Marrone and everybody else, these guys get tossed out. Mediocrity is not acceptable anymore.
No, but it's no different than any other year.
I agree.
Mean, 5, 6, 7, they all get canned.
Right. So listen, before we move off football, college football, right? There's a football game Monday night. I
There
think.
is.
Ohio State, Alabama,
That is correct.
and you and I watched the semifinals of the CFP last week. Shocked beyond belief that Ohio State and Justin Fields actually rolled over Clemson.
They did.
And I didn't see that coming. But
I didn't either. I had Clemson.
right. So
But Ohio State deserves to be there.
they do. No
And again,
question
it
about
gets back to they only played 5 games. Listen, Ohio State, if they played 12 or 11, they would have been 11-0.
the talent up and down the
Yeah.
offense and defensive side of the ball. But I was so impressed with Justin Fields after he took that hit and just came back and had an unbelievable game. Doesn't diminish Trevor Lawrence's prospects of being the number 1 pick. We love the guy. He's done everything right and so forth. But he didn't win the Heisman Trophy. And Devontae Smith did. And you and I watched him and said, this guy is hard to contain.
No, this guy is well deserving of the trophy this year.
Yeah.
First wide receiver since Desmond Howard.
In 1991.
Yeah. What is it? I mean, that's a long time ago now.
But he is.
And it doesn't feel like it to us because we remember Desmond Howard like it was yesterday. Like
Right.
we remember Charles Woodson at Michigan, that type of thing.
And the Desmond Heisman pose
Yeah.
was unbelievable.
But Devontae Smith, is
No
season
question.
he had is just outstanding, well deserving.
And he's
I was
had-
surprised that Trevor Lawrence came in second, though. He actually got more votes than Mac Jones, and Trask came in fourth.
Yep.
But Devonta Smith, this kid is pretty good.
We got an email today from one of our loyal listeners, James Walsh, who was talking about it and saying, you're right, the Heisman Trophy is the most overblown, overrated thing. And I said, but this year, they, and I put it in quotes, got it right. He was the most feared guy and hard to contain guy, and he deserved the Heisman Trophy.
Good.
No question about it.
He's a good kid, too. Really good
And he
kid.
really handled himself so well after
Outstanding.
winning this thing. He won the Maxwell, the Bolitnikoff, and did everything.
And the comparisons on him seem to be Marvin Harrison.
Yeah. But let's talk about the game itself, right? It's happening.
It's happening.
I think
Alabama, I think, is like an 8-point favorite. I think that's a little high. I think Ohio State is going. I think it's going to be a very back and forth. I think it's going to be high scoring. I think it's going to be. I think it could be like a 42-38 type of thing.
I'm just wondering if
I do. I think
if
it could
Justin
be very-
Fields can put up those kind of numbers against the Alabama defense,
I don't see why he couldn't.
But we'll see. But I'm looking forward to that. And,
But that's the thing. It's like you see Alabama. We talked about the 3-headed monster.
Yep.
I mean, they score 20-something points in the first half. Like it's nothing. So you got Mac Jones, you got
And if they get this kid Waddle back, who may
Yeah.
be playing in the game,
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know how you're going to
Yeah.
cover both
That's
of
right.
those guys.
That's
So,
right. And Alabama's got a really good offensive line.
Yep.
Ohio State's got a good defensive line, and we shall see. But
Right.
Alabama, I think, should win the game.
That's what I think too. I'm just going to say.
But I think it's going to be. I would say definitely take the over in this one.
We have such a conflict of interest here because we love the history
love both.
of Alabama,
We
but
love
we're
both.
Big Ten guys
Yeah,
and
we-
so forth.
we-
So
I'm rooting for Alabama. I mean, it's
I'm pulling
clear
for
cut.
Ohio State, but I think Alabama prevails.
I go back more with the Bear.
And listen, before we move off the Big Ten, Harbaugh. Jim Harbaugh got a contract extension at Michigan. You surprised?
No, because I called it. I said that he was staying at Michigan, and he was saying, are they going to fire him? I said, probably not. And guess what? 5 years.
But they gave him a raise for not being able to beat
Yep.
Ohio State for 4 years?
Yep.
I think it's crazy.
They feel Jim is
I would have made
the
the
right guy.
change.
And
I wouldn't have hired, It wasn't Brady Hoke, waiting in the wings to take
Yeah, the
over.
statement from Michigan was, how can we help Jim improve the program better?
We need to give him more help. Right? Yeah, that's funny.
But then you heard like Harbaugh to the Jets. I'm like, what are you kidding?
I'm not. I wouldn't rule it out that he goes back to the NFL.
Yeah, he's not. He just signed a 5-year deal. He can stay at Michigan.
That doesn't mean anything. You can
Of
get
course,
out
it
of the
doesn't
contract.
mean anything,
You
but
know
it
that.
also means he's not going anywhere.
All right.
That's what it means to me.
And listen,
And the good news is it's 5 more years, so hopefully he will be 0-10, 0-11 if Ryan Day stays at Ohio State,
which is quite probable.
who is one of our faves. Now.
He's going to end up like Woody Hayes, like you brought up last week. Guys, he's just going to stay there.
Big Ryan Day fan.
Me too. But here's one thing. Jared Garantano, a guy that we used to see play football at Bergen Catholic in New Jersey high school football.
Who had less than a good career with Tennessee.
Right, but it seems like he's been there for 9 years, transferring to Washington State.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Good luck out there, Jared.
After his benching. But I was laughing when I heard it. I go, I've watched this. He's been the quarterback for Tennessee for 3.5 years.
Yeah.
How much eligibility does he have?
He might have had a medical redshirt year or something like that. But
No, he's been there
whatever,
every year.
Jared, great.
Good luck to him.
Good luck in the Apple Bowl or whatever the hell they call it out there. Ryan Leaf University.
Right, not the Paul Bunyan Bowl like Wisconsin.
The brown jug or the little brown jug, too. You name it.
Yep. So listen.
But Tennessee, I'm glad you actually brought that up real quick. Tennessee is going to get walloped, I think, with recruiting violations. Jeremy Pruitt was hired from Alabama a couple years ago.
Yeah, who's not?
He was actually the first 2 years he started improving. Tennessee's been down and out, right, for a while now. But they look for Tennessee to be in the toilet again because it's a mess now.
And just like the NFL, the college football, these coaches are getting fired. Herman got fired and so forth. Right?
Listen, Steve Sarkisian to Texas. Listen, Steve Sarkisian, okay,
is he going to be the
had
offensive coordinator?
had personal problems at USC, and what are we talking now? I mean, time is flying.
Right, but he also took the head coaching job at Washington. Didn't do much.
He did okay.
No.
He did okay.
Less than okay.
But he was going through personal problems. Right. And to his credit, 5-6 years later, Nick Saban again, back to Nick Saban, took a flyer on him, and he turned his life back around and got everything straight. This guy is considered one of the brightest offensive minds.
No question.
No question. So Texas firing Tom Herman, that's no joke.
Yep.
You know the alumni at Texas. So Herman's out, Sarkisian's in. Yep. I think it's a good move, and
he's going to have to start off because Sam Ellinger is going to the NFL.
I tell you what, I would love to have the Dallas Cowboys select Sam Ellinger in I don't know, second, third round or something.
I could see that happening.
I would love that. I would love that. I love this kid.
Oh, he was just like Colt McCoy at Texas, right? Started as a freshman, played 4 years, and
he
awesome.
He's second to Colt in a lot of the categories.
Yep. So listen, enjoy the game, and like I said, from the Sports with Mono and Mono, send us an email, sportswithmonoandmono@gmail.com. But I'm going with Alabama Monday night.
I gotta go the Crimson Tide.
And listen, let's move on. And our next segment sponsored by Lynch Motors and Lynch Toyota of Manchester, Connecticut.
Motoring. What's your price?
Wow.
For a Lynch Toyota.
I drive from Jersey to Connecticut to get it.
Motoring.
But anyway, thanks, Mike. Hope you guys are all well up in Connecticut.
Thank you.
The NBA. We have to do it, I guess. But, the Knicks are off to this start.
I tell you, I watched the New York Knicks the other night.
I watched them last night. It's actually hard to watch, to be quite honest with you. But I wanted to bring it up.
So much.
We like Tom Thibodeau and so forth. Just didn't know whether, these guys are going to listen to a.
You know what I was a little disappointed in? Is turning in the game, I was looking forward to seeing what kind of suit Tibbs was going to wear.
Oh, he wears a pullover,
And now he's in, like a running suit.
Exactly.
I laughed to myself.
It's like Paulie Walnut
Yeah,
suit,
totally. Tibbs would, deck himself out pretty good.
Well, that's the whole thing now. Even college coaches
Now,
don't wear
listen,
suits anymore.
I tell you what, real quick on the NBA. I watched the Knicks versus the Jazz. The Knicks go down by 14-15. I'm like, this is over. Austin Rivers. I haven't seen a lot of Austin Rivers.
I watched him last. That's why I watched the game last night.
Well, the game the other night, 14 consecutive points. He's a lot bigger than I remember him. He's a great kid. He's son of Doc Rivers. Listen, Austin Rivers, that's the type of character guy you want on the team, and hopefully they.
And the Knicks got a lot of other young talent too. So
they do. So I'm not saying. I'm just saying.
But who are they competing
with? I think the Knicks are in the right direction.
But who are they competing with in this market? Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant and the Brooklyn Nets.
Wow.
And Kyrie Irving decides just not to show up for two games.
This guy, listen, I'm so tired of it now.
But
with him.
They're going places, and I like what Steve Nash is doing. He just turns his head and says, "Look, these are the two guys."
I'm done with Kyrie Irving. I think
too.
I think he's got some mental issues. I really do.
Of course he does.
This kid was a really good kid, and now he's just a selfish, like, overblown ego. And you don't call your coach, but you text you. Get out of here. I mean,
and he does have a ring, so
listen,
he gets a free pass from the media.
He's a great basketball player.
He is,
but I don't want anything to do with him.
Exactly, but that's what the New York Knicks have become.
Turned into.
You know what? You're absolutely right. These guys can take off whenever they want and just disappear, and they're still going to get their $40 million paychecks. It's crazy. But the NBA, like I said, LeBron James is still the guy. I'm going to say it today. I said it yesterday, and I'll say it tomorrow. The NBA Finals will be the Brooklyn Nets versus the Los Angeles Lakers, because that is what makes money, and we talked about it. Adam Silver is all about the money.
I think you're taking a leap on the Brooklyn Nets.
But listen, the only thing about that is I like Doc Rivers. Wherever he goes, he wins.
You see what their record is? They're like 9 or 10-1 right now.
I know they're a good team, but you and I, we looked. Is Embiid one of the elite 5 players? Is he Giannis? No. But Doc Rivers is a great coach. If it's not going to be the Nets, it's going to be the Sixers in the East. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. Well, I don't think it's going to be the Nets, because I think it's just going to be too much nonsense. And if Philadelphia...
But in the NBA,
all you have to do... At least Philadelphia has Doc Rivers as a stable influence.
But all you have to do in the NBA is make the playoffs, and you can go for it. That's how it goes.
Nobody's beating the Lakers again.
But I like Doc Rivers a lot.
I do too.
Maybe he can get this guy Embiid to show up in the playoffs.
Yeah,
right?
Good luck with that.
So there's a lot. And listen, before we move on to our final segment, which is notable passings, of which there are.
Let's touch on college basketball real quick.
Go ahead.
No, I'm just saying. Gonzaga is clearly the number 1 team out there.
Yep.
Duke is playing today against Wake Forest. Coach K missed the game. Now, Boston College, they played at Cameron Indoor Wednesday or something.
But here,
Duke was favored by 12 points at Cameron. Boston College came in at 2-7. Boston College was giving up over 80 freaking points a game. Duke wins by 1 point.
Right. Well, that's the competitive nature of college basketball.
This is Duke we're talking about.
But it's a different season.
Have they taken such a step back that it's not Duke? I mean, they're playing Wake Forest today. Now, Duke is favored by 13 points against Wake Forest. And Wake Forest is like, I don't know, 5-2 or something like that.
Well, they haven't had somebody prominent since Tim Duncan, right?
Yeah. Oh, Wake Forest. But my point is Duke not Duke? I don't know. I don't know, but I think there's signs that.
Well, Kentucky's not.
Coach K's not there forever.
But Kentucky's not Kentucky this year. It's different.
We talked about Kentucky.
Games are getting canceled. Rescheduled.
We couldn't be happier for Coach Cal to be the first Kentucky coach to be 1-5 since 1918. Right.
But here's an interesting aspect of college basketball and how off the charts and crazy it's been. The Boston University Terriers.
Yep.
Steve's alma mater, of course.
Masks.
Masketball.
Yes, I got a few texts on that.
But I thought it was funny. It kind of epitomizes what this scenario has been.
But if they were going to wear masks, they should have made a uniform central or like, they were wearing the light blue standard hospital mask things.
But March Madness is going to be held.
I got it.
It's going to be held in Indianapolis and, Indiana, wherever. They're going to be playing at
that's
Bobby
the look.
Knight's old gym and so forth,
but
right?
That's the look.
Right.
Basketball.
Yep.
But to your point, Indianapolis will be hosting the whole tournament.
So it's
Which
a
is
crazy
cool, like
time.
you said, throughout, Indiana. You have at Alumni Hall, you have games here, you have games there.
But I wanted to bring up one last pick, and I'm going to throw it to you. Who do you like today? Rutgers? You like Rutgers?
I do. I think Rutgers will rebound against Ohio State. I watched the game. They played at Ohio State maybe 2 weeks ago.
And we talked about we both
it was
liked this.
It was a close game, but Ohio State pulled away at the end.
And Ron Harper Jr. is a good ball player.
So Rutgers, I think Rutgers rebounds today and wins.
Okay.
At home.
You got it.
They're a top 25 team.
Who, Rutgers?
Yeah.
You think?
They got as high as 11.
Interesting.
Yes. See.
But listen, before we move on, again, I want to touch on the world of hockey, right? And the USA Juniors beat the Canadian team, which was dominant. This was like UNLV when they, back in basketball in the 70s, 80s kind of thing. But and it went kind of under the radar.
I think 2-0 was the final, something like that.
But they beat a team that dominated everybody.
They were the Harlem Globetrotters.
The only team to score, on a 5-on-5 and so forth. And, some of these guys these are your guys. These are Boston guys. These are the future NHL.
Yeah.
Which, really did a great job last year. The Lightning won the Stanley Cup, and we're all excited about Lafreniere for the Rangers and so forth. But you got to give kudos to the USA team.
Absolutely.
It was awesome.
Absolutely.
And it didn't get the press it deserves.
Yeah.
That's my feeling.
Yeah.
So...
All good. I'm glad you brought that up.
Oh, a lot of good talent coming into the NHL. It's
you
awesome.
better believe it.
And wasn't it the Rangers that didn't let Lafreniere, or he could have played in that? Was he young enough to play in that, or no?
He was not playing in that. He's the owner.
No, I know.
A New York Ranger now.
No, I get that, but
age-wise, I'm sure he probably maybe have qualified, but.
This could be the next Sidney Crosby, right?
No, listen, but all accounts are ready. You
got it.
But he's turning heads.
But it was great to see. It was very exciting, kind of
Sure. Hockey will be fast upon us soon.
You bet. So listen, Steve, we unfortunately we move on to our final segment, notable passings, right?
Yeah.
And I think at the top of the list we got to talk about Tommy Lasorda.
Yeah, I think he jumped to number one. Tommy passed away yesterday. Listen, he got released last Thursday or something like that.
Yeah.
A week ago at the hospital after being there since November.
He was sick.
So when I heard that he died, I was thinking, he wanted to go home and die in his bed. But I think he, had cardiac arrest, and I think he wound up dying at the hospital an hour later.
He had a good run.
He had a great run at 93.
93 years old.
Listen, 67 years as a freaking Dodger.
Yep.
I did everything in my power to dislike Tommy Lasorda.
I know.
If that makes sense, but I never did.
Well, because we're Yankee fans and he was the Dodgers guy, but you know what? You can't
The
dispute
Tonight Show, you name it.
His impact on Major League Baseball.
Very personable guy. Baseball guy, true and true.
He used to hang out with Frank Sinatra.
Yeah, he wasn't
the whole thing.
He wasn't a phony. his rants, we highly recommend.
There is a rant on YouTube.
That is so funny. It's not even.
It's like a Red Fox record.
It's great, though.
Stealing that from Seinfeld.
Oh, totally.
It's so funny talking about, if I was going to throw at somebody, it wouldn't be Kurt Bavacqua, who, was a 140 hitter. But this is sports with mono and mono, so we don't use those expletives.
Yeah.
But do a Tommy Lasorda rant on YouTube. It's like 3 minutes long. It's funny.
You'll find multiple.
Funny.
And then one of my favorites is Game 1 or the 70s.
Talking to should I take him out?
The World Series. He's Doug Rau is a Dodger pitcher that's going to go to the mound. So just search Tommy Lasorda rant, Doug Rau, R-A-U.
It's funny.
It's 5 minutes. It is priceless.
But what an impact and legacy he
Two
leaves
World
in Major
Series.
League Baseball.
Listen, 2 World Series champions. Again, 67 years as a Dodger.
And talking about a guy that bled Dodger blue,
he did.
That's him.
And again, R.I.P. I think a lot of people were sad to hear.
And here's the thing.
But a great run at night.
His last name, L.A.,
yeah.
right? Starts with L.A. How appropriate. But rest in peace, Tommy. What a great impact and great career in Major League Baseball.
Absolutely well done.
And Steve, before our show ended last week, Paul Westphal, basketball guy from the NBA, passed away.
One of my favorite players growing up.
He was an excellent player.
Yeah.
And
number 44 for the Phoenix Suns.
Played for the Celtics and so forth.
Right.
Won a championship with the Celtics.
Okay.
But, what a solid, great guy.
Became a coach.
Successful as a player and a coach. And
he's a good guy.
That's certainly notable.
Absolutely. Paul Westphal, absolutely notable passing.
Yep.
Look him up. Look up his stats. He was a really good.
He's got a great resume.
Really good basketball player.
And listen, our final one, of course, because we were all Charlie's Angels fans. Tanya Roberts passed away.
Yeah.
Right? And she was, one season as Charlie Angel, but she was a Bond girl.
Yeah.
But she had these mesmerizing eyes, but she was, I wouldn't say the greatest actress. I don't know.
Her Bond role was in A View to a Kill. Christopher Walken was the...
But she was prominent on the 70s show, which I have to admit, I've never seen 1 second of.
I have never seen 2 seconds of it.
But she made it big in
alone
Hollywood.
1 second.
She made it big. She did a great
Tanya
job.
Roberts was Listen, she had a very nice career.
She wasn't Farrah. She wasn't Cheryl
A
Ladd.
beautiful woman, no question.
But she was better than Shelley Hack.
Oh, yeah, no doubt.
Anyway, so those are our notable passings this week.
Absolutely.
And,
yeah.
But it's 2021, second weekend, and we thank you guys for joining us. And,
Game on. Soon.
Right. It's playoff Saturday and Sunday in the NFL. Enjoy that.
I think the ratings will be pretty good.
Right, because it's freezing cold.
Nobody's
in the
doing
Northeast.
anything except sitting in front.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, you can't have 20 of your buddies over.
Right. Exactly, without masks. But it's hard to eat Doritos with a mask on.
That's true.
So, but thanks for joining us, everybody. And please, if you have comments and so forth, send us an email at sportswithmonoandmono@gmail.com. And I want to give a shout out to somebody I worked with, Angela. She lives down in, she grew up in North Carolina, lives in Jersey. First time listener to the show last week, sent us a raving review, an email.
Hi, Angela.
Thanks for listening to us.
I'm mono.
But guess what? We're going to talk next week, and Steven, he'll be 1 year older next week.
Oh. I don't like to talk about my age.
Well, we'll give you a birthday shout out on the show next week.
Let's just say I'm getting into Lawrence Taylor territory. Would be the number one number.
Going from Leroy Jordan to Lawrence
from,
Taylor.
I'm going from Hideki Matsui to Lawrence Taylor numbers.
Excellent. But thanks for joining us, everybody. And again, hope all is well in the crazy times and what happened in Washington. We don't talk about because it's political.
Why? What happened in Washington?
But anyway, all the best to you guys and stay healthy. And we'll talk to you guys next week.
You got it.
Thanks for joining us.
Bye.
Be good.